As Jerusalem hunkered down in fear of Herod's response to the wise men's request about where is the newborn king of the Jews, the experts in the Mosaic Law had a different response. Theirs was what I would call a tepid acknowledgement. Take a look at Matthew chapter 2, 1 through 6. Familiar with the promise, but not knowing all the details, Herod brings together the chief priests and the experts in the law to ask them where the king, this promised king, would be born. And they almost immediately give him a response. Not only are they able to tell him where this would happen in Bethlehem, but they're able to quote the very prophet who proclaimed this promise from God. This is from Micah chapter 5. Now, it shouldn't surprise us that the chief priests and the experts in the law would know these answers, because as early as the time of Moses, according to Deuteronomy chapter 31, Moses gave them the responsibility of making copies of the Old Testament covenant, or the Mosaic covenant, and making copies of it and proclaiming it and reading it aloud to the people at periodic times. But they forgot, I think, the main purpose of that. The main purpose of knowing the law, getting it known to the people, was so that they would fear the Lord their God. Now, knowing and memorizing and proclaiming Scripture ought to lead to the revering and honoring of Scripture's divine author. However, as Jesus points out in Matthew chapter 23, it is possible to know God's law and teach His instructions and not carry them out. It is also possible to know and really get down and dirty in the finer details of Scripture and neglect God's priorities. It is possible to honor and to glorify the prophetic voices of the past while being just blind and deaf to God's present prophetic voices. Now, the chief priests and the experts in the law knew the rumors of the birth of the promised king. They knew where this king would be born, and yet not one of them accompanied the wise men to Bethlehem, a mere 6 miles, in hope of being among the first to see God's king. And again, as I say, their reaction is rather tepid. Many others react in this same manner towards Jesus today. They can say Jesus is the Christ without any admiration, awe, or love. They may be able to argue with others about what Bible translations are better than others and what's the best one to use. And they may be able to argue and defend what songs are more sacred than others. They could go on for hours about the rapture, whether it will happen or not. And yet they may fail to forgive others as Jesus has forgiven them. Now, if Jesus is, as Matthew's gospel is going to claim, then He needs to be honored and worshiped with more than gold, frankincense, and myrrh.